Hey there, welcome back to Farmcraft. I'm John. This is my pond, and for years now I've wanted to build a hydroelectric system on this. We actually had this pond built somewhere around almost 15 years ago. This used to just be a creek in a bottom, and we dammed it up. This is about 6,000 yards of clay to make this dam, if I remember right. And there's piping in it, and we'll look at that in a minute. This is an intermittent creek. Sometimes it doesn't run at all in the middle of a drought, and usually it's running, oftentimes with rain, it'll run very heavily. So the amount of flow I get through my pond is quite variable. So this is going to be a really interesting project. There's going to be a lot of things involved. Obviously, we're going to be doing some plumbing. We're going to be using heavy equipment to trench and prep the site. We're going to be 3D printing different turbine designs to see which one is most efficient. We're going to be doing some electronics to automate it. We're even going to be doing some metal casting before it's all said and done. So a lot of variety is coming up in this project. I'm excited. This is going to be cool. But let's start at the beginning, the real beginning. All right, guys, this is the very first video shot I've made of this project, which I am in the phase that people don't usually include in YouTube videos. This is the brainstorming phase. That's the scratching your head and thinking through things for hours and days. What do I know about setting up a hydro system? I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Yeah, that phase. It's the phase where you weigh the many, many options that you have, and you know, I'm going to do something stupid and regret a decision that I'm going to make. If only I knew which decision that was. But you kind of reach a point where you have to start making decisions. Let's do it. So we're going to start out with some brainstorming and explanation, but don't worry, we will get to using heavy equipment a little later in this video. We're even going to be doing some sketchy, dangerous stuff in typical Farmcraft fashion. I bet it'll get your attention. It certainly got mine. But first, let's take a look at my pond. So here's my pond. The level's actually up a little bit because it's been raining a lot. But that's basically where the typical pond level is. You know, maybe down a few inches. Here's a quick diagram to show the plumbing in the dam. This long horizontal pipe was open during construction to keep things from filling up while they were building the dam. Then the end was capped and the pond filled up, and then the water flows out through this standpipe and then out through the discharge. So the level of the standpipe is what determines the final water level. I've got an old video that explains this a little better, so I'll leave a link to that in the description. The discharge is down there into a creek. Let's go look at that. Actually, before we look at that, let's look at this. That is the intake for the pipe that we're about to go look at. It's a vertical stand pipe, and it has a trash rack on it to prevent it from sucking in debris and things. So it's drawing the water up underneath and then into the pipe. And there's my output. That's a 12-inch pipe. When it's full, it puts out about 10,000 gallons per minute. But when it's full, it's flowing much faster and under a lot more pressure. I would guess this is something more like 500 gallons a minute. This is how it flows after a big rain. That's 10,000 gallons a minute. So I've thought a lot about just using this existing pipe to do my hydroelectric. That's problematic for a couple of reasons. This pipe is here as an overflow for when the water is running too hard. And if I use this for hydroelectric, I essentially block this pipe off, and there's no way I can build a hydro generator that's going to make full use of a 12-inch pipe doing 10,000 gallons a minute. That would be prohibitively expensive. So that means I would basically be choking off my discharge pipe, and then when it rains too much, which it would a lot, I would be using the spillway all the time, which is going to cause erosion of my spillway. So that's not good. Conclusion of all that rambling is I need to run a separate pipe for the hydro system that I'm going to set up. Luckily though, I only need 6-inch, and it'll be a lot cheaper than this 12-inch pipe was. That dumps into this creek. There's a little creek that joins it there, but that's not of consequence. And then it heads this way, which is actually useful for me because I'm not gonna join the creek here. I'm gonna join the creek further up this way, which continues to fall down a little bit. The spillway is 18 inches above the water level. So it's 18 inches above that pipe. And then the top of the dam is 2 feet above the spillway. You can see it falls down there. At least I hope you can. Maybe here you'll be able to see. The spillway over there is lower than the top of the dam is right here. So the purpose of the spillway is to protect the dam from having water running on it. When it rains too much and the standpipe can't handle all the water coming into the pond, the water level rises and then it starts to drain through the spillway and goes around the dam. All right, let me see if I can explain my plan, and then you guys in the comments can tell me what an idiot I am. Now here's the deal with my pond. It's rained recently, it just stopped a few hours ago, and this thing's flowing really well right now. I could be generating good electricity off of that water flow easily. But in the dry of the summer, or even, in the fall or winter or spring, if it hasn't rained in a while, the fall is going to drop significantly. And I'm going to only flow something like 5 gallons per minute. And that would not generate much electricity at all. So my plan is to use the pond as a battery. The water level of the pond will rise and reach its max height, depending on whatever that standpipe is. And then I'm going to have a separate pipe. It's going to be over here, and it's going to go around the dam and then down the hill and drain into the creek down in there somewhere. At this point, my plan is to use the top 18 inches of water as my battery storage for the generator. So basically I'm using the pond as a buffer so that I can maintain a constant flow of water. I'm thinking somewhere around 30 liters per second or 500 gallons per minute. So it would be running right now, running, and if it hasn't rained in a while, the pond level will drop, and it will drop past the level of the standpipe, running through the new pipe that I'm going to be installing. And once it gets to a certain level, I'm going to close a valve and it's going to stop generating until the level increases. Ultimately, I would like to control this automatically. I'll set it up with an Arduino and some sensors that will detect the water level and open and close the valve based on where the pond is. But for right now, obviously, we're just going to do this manually. Let me go ahead and try to fully explain the system, at least how I have it planned at this point. The amount of head I have from the level of the pond to the creek down the hill is going to be somewhere between 15 and 20 feet, about 6 meters. So this is a low head system, which means I can't do something like you often see in hydro systems, a Pelton wheel, where they use the pressure of the water and they make a jet stream and they spray it onto a spoon type wheel, and that's your power source for generating electricity. So with a low head system like this, oftentimes you think about a cross-flow turbine. And that's not something that I'm opposed to doing, but I found a website called opensourcelowtech.org, and they also have a YouTube channel, and he demonstrates how to build a low head hydro system using real basic parts. This guy's really doing some cool things. He's making hydroelectric possible for places in third world countries where people don't have access to electricity. At this point, my plan is to base my system off of his design. And yes, I donated money to his cause. I would encourage you guys to go look at it. I'll leave a link in the description. Now, I'm not going to build it exactly the way he's building it. He's using computer cooling fan blades to act as the turbine in his system so that he can keep the cost of the entire thing down as low as possible. I plan to 3D print my own turbine designs and test them against each other to find the one that's most efficient for my setup. His design also works best if the generator is at the top of a steep drop, preferably vertical, but sloped also works. So what I plan to do is have a gentle downslope coming out of the pond, through the dam, then it will exit the hill because the hill's steep, so the gentle slope will continue down the hill, and then at the bottom of the hill, as it's approaching the creek, the pipe will get much steeper, drop into the creek, and the generator will be down there. So there you go, that's the plan. I've ordered parts, everything's set in stone, until I change my mind. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get large margin here, because this bank kind of gently slopes into the pond, and I'm going to dig it deeper and make it a drop off. Right at the water line, it's going to drop down, and in that I'm going to have my intake pipe, which will be permanently submerged. It won't be on the bottom, and it won't ever be on the surface, because that's the bottom and the top is where you're going to pick up things that clog the pipe. Even at the lowest level it's going to reach, the pipe will still be at least a foot under the water. So it should only be pulling in water and maybe a little bit of, you know, algae or pond scum that really shouldn't be a problem. That should just get sucked through the holes of the intake and go through the whole system and not hurt anything. It won't be able to pick up rocks. It won't be able to pick up floating sticks and all that kind of stuff just because of where it is. Okay, to summarize, here's the pond. Here is the dam right here. This is the spillway. The standpipe is here, so the water flows here through the dam, and the discharge is down here. The creek right after the discharge takes a hard right and goes this direction. So the new pipe intake is going to be here. It's going to go gently downsloped through a ditch. Here it's going to turn across here, still gently downsloped down the hill. And when it gets towards the bottom of the hill near the creek, it's going to become steep. That's where the generator is going to be, and then it's going to discharge into the creek in this area. I need to know, where exactly am I putting this pipe? That's the goal for today. I want it in the ditch for a couple reasons. One, I don't want to have to be trying to start a siphon all the time whenever this thing starts. I want it to be able to self-start. All I have to do is close a valve and then open a valve. If I close the valve, the flow will stop. If I open it, it will start. The other thing is, and one of the main reasons, is because we mow this. I don't want a pipe sticking out of the ground here. It's just going to be in the way all the time. So it'll be underground until it gets to the woods. Doesn't look like it, but we're dropping downhill pretty steeply here. And the creek comes out of that discharge pipe, which is right there, and takes a hard right. So the creek is down there, and I think that's actually the closest point. From right here, if I were to run to the discharge pipe, it would be further than if I run straight into the woods here and down the hill. So I'm gonna go walking in the woods. I wanna find the best place to put this pipe. With my little mini machete here, I cleared somewhat of a path that goes straight down the hill to this point, and I've got about a little more than a foot drop right there. So obviously I'm going to discharge at that level. So let's walk up the hill. I'll show you what I'm talking about. And here we are. Sweet. So we come out of the pond, we elbow, and straight down the hill. So you might ask, why don't I just come straight across the dam? I could have the pipe go in there, come slightly sloped downhill, have the valve right here before it exits the dam. The main reason I'm not doing that is because you have to protect this dam from any water running on it at all costs. If I put a pipe in there and water starts seeping along and is able to leak past that pipe somehow, this dam is just packed clay. You know, this hasn't been here for however long, you know, the rest of the ground is, where it's all totally compacted in and very erosion resistant. This would erode very easily. And if any water starts running, it's going to take the clay with it, and then more is going to run. You get positive feedback and it will just carve right through your dam. So it's risky for me to just go straight across it like that. Whew. All this thinking's making me thirsty. This video is sponsored by Element. Element is an electrolyte drink made of a science-backed ratio of sodium, potassium, and magnesium. Whether you're an elite athlete, a farmer working long hours, or an everyday mom or dad, replenishing your electrolytes is important to keep your body functioning at peak performance. They're made of real ingredients with no fillers, no gluten, no artificial colors, no preservatives, you know, no BS. They come in lots of great flavors, and I've really come to enjoy drinking them most every day. Lately, I've been really enjoying the watermelon salt flavor. Right now, Element is offering my viewers a free 8-count sample pack of their most popular flavors with any order. That's 8 single-serving packets free with any Element order. This is a great way to try fan-favorite flavors or share Element with a salty friend. Get yours at drinkelement.com/farmcraft. That's drinkelement.com/farmcraft. Give them a try and let me know how it goes. I bet you'll be glad you did. Now let's get back to work. Well, actually, after I drink this. All right, one thing I need to do That is a dry hydrant that I installed, never used, never actually put the fitting on it to hook a truck up to it. And it's never going to get used. So I'm taking that out of there. There's a bunch of PVC pipe that goes down and out into the pond. And I am going to use that for the hydro project. And while I'm here, I'm going to kill two birds with one stone. All this stuff has grown up and I'm going to remove all of that. This is not a job for Large Marge. This is a job for the Yanmar. So we're going to get all that ripped out of there. And then I'm also going to come over here and clean up some stuff that's growing up over here. We're kind of losing our view of the pond as this stuff encroaches. So let's get it done. I'm using the pond water to clean off these roots so that once it's piled up, it'll burn better. And man, I love my excavator. It just does so much work in so little time. I'm going to clear all the way to this pine tree over here, and that's quite a lot of trees and brush and just junk that if I was doing by hand would take a lot of time and a lot of energy. And this is just easy, and I think it takes me about an hour to clear everything that you're seeing here. Hard to beat an excavator. Alright, so now the goal is to dig this pipe out, and hopefully I'm going to be able to do it all with the machine and not have to do a bunch of hand work. You know, it just goes down in elbows, but I don't know if it goes like that way or what. So I'm going to start here. It's Schedule 40 PVC, it's pretty tough. So hopefully I will be able to dig carefully and find it and then follow it without breaking it. That's the plan. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I did bring a shovel just in case. So I'm not sure how much pipe is actually in the ground here, but it's quite a bit. It's got to be maybe 60 to 80 feet of it. And this stuff's pretty expensive. It's like, what, $5 a foot, I think? So it seems like a good idea to make use of it, right? I mean, it's just sitting here doing nothing. And I need 6-inch pipe. It also seems like this would be a pretty easy job. I mean, there's a pipe in the ground. I've got an excavator. Dig it out. Feels like I'm going to break it. I was already about 3 feet down, about a meter. And I figured I'll just dig a little further and I'll find the top. Or maybe not. Surely I'm going to find it now. I mean, come on. Alright, how deep is this darn pipe? Alright, here's an idea. Let's see how deep this guy goes. Right there, 10 feet 8 inches. And so 10 feet would be the top of the pipe. I am at 7 foot 8. So I've got more than 2 feet to go. Good grief, I don't remember this being this deep. I did find the top of the pipe, but there's not much to see down there because dirt just keeps falling in on top of it. But now that I knew which way it was pointed, I wanted to go ahead and dig as much out in the pond as I could, because I knew that was going to weigh it down. Obviously, when you dig in a pond, you stir up sediment, which then has the potential to run off. Thankfully, though, the way my system is set up, it drains from the water surface, and most of the sediment just ends up settling right back into the pond. It's basically a giant sediment tank. And it was at this point that I realized maybe I didn't think this all the way through. Yep, that ditch just filled up with water. A lot of water. Well, I'm already wishing I had taken a little more time when I had it exposed to make sure that I had everything off of it, including right down in the corner there. Because you can't get to it now. We have a pond in the way. This is turned out to be pretty tough, because once you get this water in here and you can't see anything, it really kind of handicaps your ability to do anything with it. I have taken the excavator out there and dug a whole lot. There's not much to see, so I didn't film most of it. Just picture the excavator taking buckets of dirt out of the water and you can't see anything else. And I've gotten very close to the pipe. I think I've bumped the pipe some. If I get any more aggressive, I'm just going to break it. I don't think I've broken it yet, but there's still a fair amount of dirt on that pipe. I went in there and, you know, tried to just take a shovel and see if I could move the dirt off of it, but there's so much suction and it's real sticky clay type stuff. There's just no way. Yeah, it's not worth it. You might as well just buy new pipe. So I do think I have a plan though. The end of the pipe is out there. And what it is a 6-inch pipe with a bunch of holes drilled in it for an intake. And then there's an end cap glued onto it. So that end cap makes kind of a step. I'm going to swim down to it. It's only like 5 feet down. And I'm going to put a rope around it. And then I'm going to bring that rope all the way across the pond. Get it as straight as I can to the line of the pipe. Get the excavator over there and pull the rope. So the big long pipe that's under here should just pull. The question is, what's the vertical going to do? It won't be nearly as mechanically disadvantaged as it would be if I just started pulling up on that, because what's going to happen is where the dirt gets heavy, the pipe's just going to break. But here, you know, the lever arm against the pipe at the elbow won't be that bad. It might be able to just pull its way through the dirt, or it might break at the elbow, which wouldn't be the end of the world. I'd still have the big long section of pipe. So that's what I'm going to do, and that requires me going for a swim here. So this is an old retired climbing rope. So I'm gonna do a fisherman's slip knot, basically. There, I can swim down, loop that over the pipe, and then cinch it down, and then we're gonna be pulling on that. And that hopefully will not break it. I'm betting some of you guys that have more excavation experience knew darn well getting this pipe out of here was gonna be tough. Or maybe there's a trick that I'm missing. You know, one thing I thought of would be nice if I could put some upward pressure on the pipe with the excavator and then reach down there with a concrete vibrator and get that dirt that's on top of it to kind of liquefy from all the vibration and allow the pipe to work its way up. But I don't have one of those and don't really have access to one. You know, I think this will work. What could be in this pond? There's snapping turtles and we've seen a couple leeches. It's fine. There's no alligators. You'll be all right. So I'm just feeling for the pipe with my feet and then getting to the end of it. And then I'm going to dive down and put that rope over it. Then I came and got the other end of the rope, and time to swim it across. All right, I'm having my doubts, but we'll get the excavator over there and give this thing a pull, see what happens. Took a little doing. Here's my setup. I got the rope coming to the snatch block here, and this is anchored to a pretty good sized tree over there. So if I pull on this loop, it's obviously going to pull in that direction and hopefully pull that pipe out of there. I'm not real hopeful about this, but this snatch block's really helping me because I didn't have much room here. With rope stretch, I wouldn't be able to just pull directly, but that's going to allow me, I've got plenty of room to go that way with the excavator, and I can pull either until the rope breaks or the pipe breaks or the pipe comes out, something. So a little thunderstorm got in the way, but we're ready to give this a try now. I just told my wife I was going to go try pulling on my pipe, and she started laughing. I don't get it. So I started pulling, and then pretty shortly I realized I was going to need to tighten the rope where it anchors to the tree. And since I have it all hooked up already, I can use the excavator to push everything over towards the tree and make that easier. If you're curious, I'm using a double bowline on a bite. So now we can finally do some pulling. Yep, it's going through the snatch block, it's working. And everything goes slack. I suspect it just slipped off of the darn thing. That stinks. I don't think I was pulling hard enough to break any ropes. Unforgettable. And there's the slip knot. Man. Surprised that just came off. Good grief. Who would have thought this would be that hard? So here's the new plan. That rope is pretty stretchy, and I think it just stretched and allowed it to pop off of the pipe. So I'm going to use chain. So I went for another swim, hooked it up with chain this time, swam the rope back across. You know the drill. Now let's try pulling. This is an old shooting target. I didn't want it sticking up in case something breaks. I mean, it's probably not going to happen, but if that rope anchored to the tree broke, that target would get launched. So I knew there was a possibility that something might break, and I had the boom between me and the rope, but that's a 6,000-pound rope. That was a lot of force. And yeah, that target with very heavy weights on it would have done who knows what. So this is where I had it tied with a bowline around the tree. Alright, it's official. I've wasted far more time than this pipe is worth, but I'm continuing on more out of stubbornness, and because I've come this far, might as well. Alright, I'm going to try pulling up on this. Now the question is, how do you attach to it? I could drill some holes in it and put a bolt through, but I'm afraid that would just crack the PVC. I don't think that's the best. So I'm going to try this. which is a piece of old bike inner tube and 2 hose clamps clamped onto it. Then when I girth hitch a piece of webbing around the pipe, when it starts to slide up, it's going to hit the hose clamps, and hopefully that will be enough to keep it from sliding off. Let's do some pulling. Pulling on my pipe right in front of everybody. Well, that kind of sucks, because that means there's still an elbow down there. I can probably pull it out now. You think? Good grief. Sure, just dig the pipe up. Save yourself some money. So I hooked back up to the excavator, and I'm not using the snatch block right now. I'm just going to pull on it directly and see if I can move it. And if you watch that tow line, it just went slack. That's because the pipe moved, and I tightened it up further. And it goes slack again. That pipe's moving. Let me get repositioned, reset, and we'll do another pull, and it should keep getting easier. Yeah, the forces are nowhere near as high at this point. Seems like the pipe is pulling right out. So yeah, when I put the chain on, I knew I was on a coupler and not the end. I figured if it slipped over that coupler, it would give me another chance to hook on the end there. And there you can see all the holes. Look like 3/8 holes. Plenty small. It gives you lots of intake, but nothing can get in there big enough that's going to mess things up. You know, once it's in the pipe, it's all too small. I wonder how much I got. I don't even know. How much money did all this work save me? I earned it, I can tell you that. These are 20-foot sticks, and then you can see a coupler. There's 3 couplers on that, so there's 70 feet actually. 20, 20, 20, and then 10 on the end, which is the intake. The intake actually took a long time to make. That's a lot of holes to drill, and I don't have to do that again. That can be my intake for the hydro. So that's 70 feet. The stick that I pulled out vertically over there is 10 feet, so I've got 80 feet of this. There you can see where the elbow broke. This stuff's going at $5 a foot, so that's $400. Plus I don't have to make the intake now, so not too bad. Plus it's $400 that was just sitting in the ground doing nothing, and now it's going to be put to use. All right, that's about as good as I can get it right now. It's so muddy that you really can't compact it. You just sink in. So I'll let it sit like that for a while, dry out. Maybe even when I come burn this pile, I'll also come down here and resurface this. Give it a little more grading. But that'll work for now. All right, it has been quite a while. It's been very dry, so there hasn't been an opportunity to burn that. This has dried out nicely, and I'm gonna go ahead and run over this several times with the excavator, blade it a little more, grade that out a little better. And then over here I've got this pipe. I'll just get that out of the way. Some logs that will ultimately be firewood. And then this pile of rocks that's been sitting here forever. It was on the edge of the field up against the woods, but now it's very much in the way. So I guess I'm just going to move them over there. I will probably do something with them pretty soon, I think. But for now I want to get them out of the way so that I can have this area all cleaned up. There's always one more. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. No remnants of the ditch left. Nice grade, and the rocks are all gone. So that's a wrap on this video. This is part one of this hydroelectric system build, and in this we discussed some different design options. There are many others that I didn't discuss, but like I said, there's so many different decisions, you just have to start going with things. I got this area cleared, and I dug that darn pipe out of the ground, so we'll be able to put that to use. In the next video, we're going to start working on the hydro system directly, and you're probably going to see a new attachment for my excavator, so look out for that. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.